I really challenge you. Every seminar you go to, if you're by yourself, write down the things that you think might work great in your practice. Then have the powwow with your team when you come back. And when I say powwow, you sit around and you really go through these ideas or these thoughts. And you ask them, what do you think about that?
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Bruce B. Baird, and you're listening to the Productive Dentist Podcast. In this podcast, I will give you everything that I've learned over the last 40 years in dentistry, working with thousands of dentists. I'll tell you, it's not that my way is the only way. It's just one that has worked extremely well for me, and I'd love to share that with you so you too can enjoy the choices and lifestyle that productivity allows. More time for things you love, increased pay, better team relationships, and lowered stress. Let's get into it with this week's episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast.
Hi, this is Dr. Bruce Baird with the Productive Dentist Podcast, and this is episode 110. And the topic that I want to talk about today is continuing education. And why do you go? Why do you go to CE? I know early on in my career, it was literally just because I just wanted to know more. I know some people go to CE just to get credits so that they can, because their state board says you have to go to CE. I really hesitate to go just to get credit hours. I know I've never done that in my career. So why do you go, and what is it you're hoping to take away from it? I see a lot of people in the past, and I'm a good example of that. I buy really good books, and then I read a little bit on them, and then they end up on my bookshelf. Now, I do read a lot, but I also buy a lot of books. Late night TV, ordering used to be the DVDs, the Tony Robbins tapes, the real estate tapes, all of that stuff, and you listen to one or two, and it sits on your shelf. Well, I think that happens when dentists go to CE also. They're getting out of the office, and so they look at it as kind of, well, it's going to be nice. I can relax a little bit, see some friends, and those are all important. I prefer doing that when I'm on vacation. I love seeing all my buddies at continuing education programs at different venues all across the country. And we get to go out and eat nice dinners, and we get to do those things that are really a lot of fun. And to me, that is creating relationships. I've learned as much at the bar and or at dinner from other dentists as I have at the seminars. But what do you do when you come home? That's kind of a question. Do you listen to one tape and then that's the end of it? Do you go to a continuing education taking notes on things that you're going to make changes in your own business, in your own practice? And then when you do go back, how do you make those changes? Is your team traveling with you to these seminars? Or are you coming back with new ideas and new thoughts and saying, hey, this is what we're going to do? And I've done that many times, I promise, but also I've taken my team many times. One of the things that I always love to watch at Productive Dentist Academy is when the teams come, the doctor comes with 6, 8, 10 team members, and to watch them during the day, we have a great time at night. We have entertainment, we have places to go. This last seminar, we brought in Burton Gilliam, who was on Blazing Saddles, to give us a little rendition of Blazing Saddles. And so we had a great time. But what I'm so impressed with are the offices that go back and actually implement things and make a difference. I see that the entire team meeting with the doctor, and this is not a one-way street. When you're a leader, and we've talked about leadership a couple of episodes ago, I want to get the feedback from my team on what's going on. I want to hear what do they think also about the program, especially my team members that have been with me for any extended period of time. I love getting to hear their thoughts. Oh, I love that, what I heard. Or I was talking to another dental assistant or a treatment coordinator at our breakout. And boy, the breakout was great. And this is what I heard at that breakout. And so what you do is uh, you have to take all the information and put it into some type of an implementation strategy. Because if you don't, you really had a great time, you have more knowledge, but it really doesn't change the ultimate things that we came to change. I love coming back and finding ways to be more efficient, finding ways to be more profitable, finding ways to have a better schedule, finding out ways to communicate with my team better, finding out ways to communicate with patients better. But without an implementation strategy, the tendency is to go back, and I've heard this many times where the doctor, I mean, the team will say, "Don't worry, he'll get over it, or she'll get over it in a few days. It's never going to change." And that, and I know there are a lot of dentists out there that don't change, but I challenge you to think about everything that you learn. I love to have the saying that when I go to a continuing education course, I never look at things the same way again. What I do is I look at the mouth, differently. If I, went to talk about going to Pat Allen's course on connective tissue grafting, or going to the pinhole course, or going to Mish, or going to, hear Dawson speak years ago. When I would go listen, I would never think the same way again. And I challenge you is not thinking the same way, but being able to go back and implement. So by putting together strategies that you want to implement, what I do is I'll list 1 through however many I got, however many pearls, if you will, I got, or how many ideas that I got, and how many that the team got. And we will meet and talk about it, and then sit down and write out a list of 10 implementation things, or 12, or 3, or 1. Sometimes you go to a course and, it's kind of repetitive. It's a lot of things that but you heard one thing that was said that changes everything about the way you look at the mouth, or the way you look at your team, or whatever. Or one of your team was talking to someone in a breakout and they had an epiphany or a breakthrough. Oh my gosh, I think if we did this, this would be awesome. And bringing to the table and having that meeting, or when you get back. Now, I love it at PDA watching teams meet there to set their implementation strategy. And I really think that's important if you're bringing your team, because when you get back, you're back in the battle again. It's Monday morning, you're back at the office, and here we go again. And we don't even think about the course we took the weekend before, unless the entire team has been educated and we've set up that implementation strategy. So what I'd love to do is, if we're going to a course and I'm taking the team, we specifically set up, and let's just say there's not time for breakouts with your team at the meetings or at the seminar. When you get home, set aside 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours of time for training and discussions, and figuring out, okay, we just went to this course. What things, just like they're doing at PDA, sitting around a table, coming up with implementation strategies, we recommend that same thing when you come home. So you come home, you list out everything 1 to 10, and you start this strategy of implementation. Now, are you going to do all of it, or are you going to delegate this implementation strategy? Well, that's important. There are certain things that I wanted to change. So for me individually, I might have learned a new phrase or a new way of talking to a patient to explain some treatment, in the treatment rooms. And so I like to try that. I use one example. I heard a guy talking about incisal edge composites, and that became my way of communicating. I would just say, incisal edge composites, it's kind of like an M&M. You start to turn it on its side and you start to shave it, and you get this hard outside and this soft inside. And that soft inside is very susceptible to acid. And that's where you get those little dip outs in your front teeth. So I learned that and I went home. I had those things written down. Now you can put them on your phone, give you a reminder. Are you using it? Are you doing it? Are you explaining to patients those things? But your team has those same things that you're going to, as a leader, assign them the duty or the opportunity to head up a certain area. Like it could be in the lab. You have certain things that you like in the lab, and you want to bring in, for instance, maybe a printer. So I assign that team member with me. I'm going to be buying this stuff. We're going to set it up, and I'm going to need your help in setting up this new printer or this new milling machine or this new. You can go down the list. There's all kinds of things that my team helps me with. What I don't want to have happen is I come back from the meeting and I send out and I order 3 or 4 or 5 things, and they get to the office, but I forgot about them. My team doesn't really know what they are, and they end up in the boneyard upstairs, where nobody's using them. Well, how do I know that? Because I've done it a lot of times. So with intention, delegating the responsibilities to do different areas. Maybe it's a new way of collecting. Maybe it's a new way of doing your financial arrangements. Maybe it's, whatever it is, you've got to reset the boundaries, reset the steps that you're going to do in this particular system, and delegate that to a team member. And as a leader, what do? We're going to check, and we're going to do it every month, every week. Initially, I probably will check on a system once a week. And just in passing, I'll just say, okay, I got 5 minutes. I'm going to go check on this system. How's that going, Mary? Oh, it's going great. Really? Okay. Then a week later, I just wanted to check again. Oh, it's really doing good. I love the way this works or that works. Or you find out we're having a little issue with this. And now you powwow and you decide, okay, we can make a difference. We can change something in our system. But these are the ways that as a leader, you come back from one of these meetings and you actually put the rubber to the road. I mean, you are actually going to make changes that you believe are going to make a better office and better communication with your team and your patients. And so, I really challenge you, every seminar you go to, if you're by yourself, write down the things that you think might work great in your practice, then have the powwow with your team when you come back. And when I say powwow, you sit around and you really go through these ideas or these thoughts, and you ask them, what do you think about that? Have you guys, heard anything, or any of your friends that are treatment coordinators or front office, are they doing this? And then also getting them the education that they need. Nowadays, there's so much video out there. There's YouTube. There's, so many things. Well, I say, I want you to watch these. I'll give an example. We learned about sleep apnea. I came back and I assigned one team member. And I said, okay, you are going to be the driver of our sleep apnea program. And they were excited. It was something they were interested in. You're going to have to find one that's interested in it. And then I send them for education. Now, again, you can download videos, you can download content to help educate them. And then you can help train them in that area. And then at some point in time, they kind of run the show. And you can step back and know that your patients are being taken great care of. And you're actually doing something that is for your team, that's giving them that independence and that love of coming to work, because they all have responsibilities. And that all stems from not just my thoughts about dentistry, but what I'm learning when I go out to these seminars and this education that we go to. So anyway, hopefully this has been something that'll kind of hit you between the eyes, and we'll be back next week with another edition of the Productive Dentist Podcast. And like us on all the different social media channels. And if you know a friend that you could refer to us, we sure would appreciate it. Thanks so much, and look forward to it.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, make sure you subscribe. Pass it along to a friend. give us a like on iTunes and Spotify, or drop me an email at podcast@productivedentist.com. Don't forget to check out other podcasts from the Productive Dentist Academy at productivedentistpodcast.com. Join me again next week for another episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast.